My name is Shannon Gardiner. I am 22 years old and I am a South African senior Olympic rhythmic gymnast, and also I study at the University of Victoria and currently I'm studying in LLB. I was watching the 2004 Olympic Games, and that's when rhythmic gymnastics first caught my eye. I don't even know how old I was, and I was in a post office with my mom, and the rhythmic gymnastics was on the TV, and she just said to me that I was pointing at it, and I said, "Mom, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that." And obviously, as any mother to their child is like, okay, whatever, you know, move on. But then I wouldn't stop nagging her about it. And she actually ended up putting me in artistic gymnastics, which is with the bar and the beam and everything. So I started that because we couldn't find rhythmic gymnastics anywhere in the country. And maybe about a year later, we saw my coach Nina Evadosa training at Centurion Gymnastics Club, and I started with her since I was small. So from then on out, rhythmic has just been my passion. I competed in artistic gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics till I was grade 4, and both of them together, I was literally coming straight from school, 2 o'clock, went to artistic gymnastics. At 4 o'clock, I'd literally run across the road to rhythmic gymnastics and then train until about like 8 o'clock at night. So it was very, very hard on me as a young child. I didn't have any social life. I didn't have school sports, nothing, even though my school itself was nagging me because they said it's compulsory to do school sports. But then at what it was maybe about 11-ish, both my coaches said, listen, you can't do both. You have to pick and choose, because both sports are very contradicting. The one is mainly based on muscle and, you know, jumping, and it's very dangerous, and the other one is based on flexibility and being long and lean, and it's more graceful. So I think my mom was very, very happy with me when I decided on rhythmic gymnastics. A very big challenge would be injuries. It puts a lot of strain on your body, especially with the amount of stretching and the amount of pressure we put on our muscles, and having to strain our muscles to the point where everything is oversplit and everything looks perfect. And I mean, I've struggled a lot with ankle injuries. I mean, that's a main problem because you land constantly, you're on your toes constantly, doing turns and things that your body is not really supposed to do. I mean, another thing with rhythmic, it's a very aesthetic sport, and we have to look after ourselves and look after the way we look. And if we don't look a certain way, we couldn't be considered non-gymnastic looking bodies, which I think psychologically is not a great thing. I mean, I personally myself have gone through things like that, where I've been told that I will never be anywhere, I'll never get anywhere if I don't start looking like a gymnast. And that's something I think that really puts a lot on you as a young child, especially. I mean, I was maybe about 13 years old when I was told that I don't look like a gymnast, and I was in Bulgaria training, and I had to put on plastic all over my legs to basically sweat out the water weight, and I mean, they believe that is something that will help you to become more lean. And I sat maybe about an hour jumping up and down, skipping with a rope with plastic all over my legs, just to try and, you know, get fitter and lose the water weight and everything. And I think that is something as a young child you probably shouldn't have to go through, because from young then you will have this pressure put onto you, which, you know, I mean, can damage you for the rest of your life. But I mean, luckily for me, I'm a very strong character, and I get over things quite easily, and I don't let anything like that stop me from being who I am and what I want to do in my life. I think one of my greatest highs would definitely be qualifying for the Youth Olympic Games. I was 14 at the time, still in high school and trying to juggle grade 9 and competing and training for the Youth Olympics. I think that was the very first time I realized that rhythmic is something that I want to pursue as a career. And yeah, from then on out, it's just been amazing going overseas, competing and meeting friends and making a life out of it. But I think your lows come in again, as I mentioned, with injuries. I had knee surgery in 2019, and I literally came back from one of my greatest competitions I've ever competed in, which was the World Championships in 2019, which was an Olympic qualifier. And obviously getting through the first round for the Olympic qualifier was the most amazing thing ever. I came back and I was just on such a high and so excited. And then I competed in our nationals, our local nationals, obviously to get rankings. And I landed up tearing my meniscus during my ribbon routine. But although in gymnastics, I mean, I've always been taught that if you feel something, if you're upset with something, don't give up. Like, continue until you're finished. The routine is not done until that music ends at the end. So I finished my ribbon routine and I still had one more apparatus after that. But I think competing during this competition, I did realize there is something wrong with my knee, because as I started my club's routine, I started off with this jump. And as I jumped off my leg, I just felt this stinging sensation run all the way through my legs. And I was like, okay, something's not right. And I think from then I took a month off. And I landed up seeing a surgeon afterwards, after my physio was like, okay, it's not getting better, let's go for an MRI. I saw a surgeon and he told me basically I need surgery, and it was very unsure about what my recovery time was gonna be. It was either 3 months or 6 to 8 months, and he says he doesn't know. He says he'll go in, he'll check what he sees, and then if it's a 45 minutes operation, then you know it's 3 months, but if it's a 2 to 3 hour, then you know you're out for 8 months. So that was really scary for me, and I had to take a leap of faith and just go into my surgery thinking, okay, let's just hope it's only 45 minutes. And as soon as I woke up, I literally looked at the nurse who was attending me and I said, what time is it? And she was like, no, why? And I was like, no, what time is it? How long was my surgery? And she was like, no, it was about 50 minutes. So I was like, oh my goodness, thank goodness. I tried to get back to training as soon as I could, but I only properly started training a month and a half before African Champs. And that was our Continental Olympic Qualifier, which is the main qualification for the Olympic Games. I landed up competing in that after a month of training, and unfortunately I made a very big mistake with my hoop, and my hoop landed up going out the carpet. But every other apparatus that I did was absolutely perfect, and I made apparatus finals on all my apparatus, which I think is a really big achievement, especially considering that I only trained for a month and a half. But unfortunately I did not qualify for the Olympic Games, and obviously someone who was trying to qualify and that did not happen was a bit of a low part of my career. But I realized that even though I didn't achieve what I wanted, I made a very big step in my life, and coming literally from not being able to walk, not being able to do anything, to going full out on the floor, leaping, jumping, turning, doing everything that's my surgeon told me that I probably won't be able to do ever again, was just such an achievement for me, and that has just made me feel absolutely amazing. Another high that I had was my qualification for World Championships. I actually ended up achieving a personal best, and that was the most craziest thing I've ever experienced. And when the judges told me my marks, I was like, what? I was like, are you sure? Seriously, I didn't believe them. But yeah, so I qualified for the 2021 World Championships that will be held in Japan later this year. A group of people together, uplifting each other and giving each other opportunities that they haven't been able to have. And I believe in that 100%. I mean, my mom has taught me from young. She says, women empowerment is the most important thing you could ever have in your entire life, because without women uplifting other women, the world will be a man's world. And I believe that I try to complete some and achieve some empowerment by empowering little girls to realize that rhythmic gymnastics is a sport. And that's why I try to do masterclasses for free and try to bring people into the sport to try and give them opportunities. I mean, I even did an enrichment program for underprivileged little girls that my mom was in control of, and I helped them, and I took these ballerinas and I taught them things that I was learning as a gymnast in terms of flexibility and learning things, because I mean, even though it was a ballet enrichment program, there's still opportunities for these little girls to realize, okay, maybe I actually want to do rhythmic gymnastics, because it's not a school sport and no one gets exposure to it. And I think that if we give the chance to other little girls to see this exposure, we'll be as good as European countries and the countries overseas. The main woman in my life who inspires me is probably my mother. And I know this sounds very typical, but she is someone who always gives to other people, and she'll put other people before she actually puts herself first. And that for me is something so inspiring. I mean, my mother has been there for me since I can remember, and the amount of things that she has gone through. I mean, my mom had back surgery and she was told she would never be able to walk again, and here she is running around being crazy and still doing things for other people and putting other people first. And yeah, I think my mother has just been a role model, and she's taught me everything I need to know and showed me the person I have to be today.